Greetings there, everybody, and welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back. This is a kind of a one-off show we're doing, so it's not really a regularly scheduled show. It's something I do once in a while, and I actually haven't done this particular show in more than a year. But this album that we're going to do today falls within that range. So this is what we're going to be doing. So this is a recent history album review. And for those of you who haven't been around or don't remember that far back, normally what I do is I have my Monday nights look back at a classic rock album in which I choose an album that's generally a 2, 1, or a masterpiece album for me that's older than 15 years that I like quite a bit, obviously, and I put it in there for that. I also have my What's New show, where in which I choose albums that are new from this particular year. But I don't have anything really in between, except for this particular show, which I do, and which I have done. I was doing it a fair number of times early on, but I haven't done it for a while because I haven't found any albums that fall within that grasp. This one does. So this one was released in 2013. It's Yes's Fly From Here. Sorry, 2011. I said 13, but it's actually 2011. So that makes it 13 years old. Still relatively new. It hasn't reached that 15-year cutoff part. It's close enough that I probably could have included it, but I decided, because it's still fairly new into this year, that I will do it on the recent history album review. So for those of you who don't know, this is Yes's 20th studio album, released in 2011. Actually, I think it was released in June. I didn't write it on the board. Sorry, forgot. I don't know how I missed that part. I got everything else. These things happen when you get old, though. I forget stuff all the time. So anyways, I do like this album quite a bit. It was released, was recorded in 4 different studios. SARM West Studio in London, SARM West Coast Studio in Los Angeles, Langley Studios this is in Devon, UK or United Kingdom, and Swartz Studios in Sussex, England. So it's about 47 minutes long, so it's fairly lengthy, outside of the realm of what I normally like to listen to, but not too far out. On the Frontiers label and produced by none other than Trevor Horn, former singer for Yes, did the drama album. Appearing on this album, so this was a bit of the controversy. I was reading through my notes and stuff, so this album was released in 2011, but they did a revised edition in 2018, and they changed some of the vocal tracks and changed some of the music to suit a more modern, up-to-date version of the album. So on this particular album, on this particular one that I have here, which is the original, it was Benoit David on lead vocals, Steve Howe on guitars and backing vocals, Chris Squire on bass and backing vocals, Alan White on drums, and Jeff Downs on the keyboards, with some additional keyboard parts being played by Oliver Wakeman. So how that works is that Oliver Wakeman was part of the band. My understanding of what happened is that they were going to they hadn't done an album for a while. They took a hiatus, mostly because Rick Wakeman wasn't well, and then John Anderson also took unwell. They didn't want, so they decided to come back. Anderson took unwell. They decided they didn't want to wait for him to come back, so they replaced him with Benoit David. This is Yes, you got to understand that they like to do that. They don't like waiting around. If you're not ready, you're out. That's the way it is with them. Anyways, they've had a fair number of members over the years, of course, and Oliver Wakeman, who had written quite a few tracks along with a few other people to put on this album, they decided to take a different direction. They wanted to make the title track longer, 24 minutes, I believe it ended up being. And so that meant they had to cut some tracks out. So they cut his tracks out. He really wasn't happy with this. However, they decided that since the new tracks and the new upgrade to the Fly From Here was being done or assisted from Jeff Downes, they decided that Oliver needed to take a holiday, and they replaced him with Jeff Downes. So now Oliver came on here as a recommendation from his dad, obviously, who wasn't well, so they asked him to replace him with Oliver Wakeman. So anyways, Oliver was out, although they did keep some of his keyboard bits for the album. So in addition to this, just a little bit of a note on the album that they remastered or redid in 2018. They changed some of the lyrics on the or not the lyrics, but the vocals on some of the other tracks on the original album. They replaced a couple songs with Steve Howe doing vocals and Chris Squire doing lead vocals on a different track, and also Trevor Horn did lead vocals on a track or two as well. But for this version, it's all Benoit David, and actually like his voice. It's not bad. There's not a lot of difference, to be honest, between John Anderson, Benoit David, and and John Davidson. Like, they're all very similar sounding. This guy actually sounds quite a bit like Yes. But it makes sense because these, at least in Benoit David, he came from a Yes cover band, so that makes perfect sense. And John Davidson from Glass Hammer, of course, he had a vocal. So Benoit David did the vocals on the album, and then on the tour, I believe he played on some of the tour, if I'm correct. And then John Davidson came aboard and took over for the rest. So anyways, this is a good album. And I have just realized, oh, you're there. I thought I left them in the other room, but they're not. They're right here. So we're just going to do kind of a general overall view of this album. I think of this album as kind of being a mid-range 2 for me. So for those of you who don't know my ranking, how I usually do is I have either a masterpiece album, a number 1, number 2, or number 3. Now, number 3s are kind of okay to ordinary, but not a bad album. Then you've got your number 2s, which are good albums to very good albums, and then you have your number 1s, which are very good to great, and then you have your masterpieces, which are almost perfection. So this particular album is like a mid-range 2, so it's a good to very good. I would say it's more good than very good album. I like it. I know that it takes a lot of hits from not just people in the YouTube site, on the YouTube channel, but also from Yes fans in general. They don't care for it. I think it's because of the personnel stuff that went on with the album, and they've done this before. They did it with the Yes album originally when they kicked Peter Banks off and replaced him with Steve Howe, and then again when they kicked Trevor Kay off and replaced him with Rick Wakeman. So they're not afraid to replace you if you're not doing what they want. However, one of the greatest rock bands ever, and this album is one of my favorites of the later generation ones. And Chris is on this, so that's excellent too, and so is Alan. So excellent. So Fly From Here is the opening track. It's a suite with looks like it's got 5, I believe it's 5 parts. Yes, 5 parts. Well, actually, maybe they've got it as a 5-part suite, but in actual fact, the opening track, Fly From Here, the overture, is not credited as being a track, although it is actually a part of the song. So the whole 6-part suite is good. It's the reason I like this album is because I like that song. I know that they took that song along with some of the other songs from the drama sessions. Well, they weren't part of the drama sessions, but they were songs that they had recorded or had written and done some work on during that time period when Trevor Horn was in the band along with Jeff Downes originally. And they decided to redo some of the work on them and extend it and make it longer and put that song and a few others here on the album to cover that. So some people don't like that. They'd rather have had all just brand new material. Some of them didn't like the fact Oliver Wakeman was kicked out of the band. But this is sometimes how it goes, right? But, on a whole, of course, I like the album cover. This is one of Roger Dean's, was a painting he was doing. Look at that. That's amazing, right? Look at this. Look at this. This is really good stuff. And I really like this color scheme. Green and dark green and blue. Always been among my favorite colors. This, of course, I really like. It's a return kind of from the last album they did before this was Magnification, which wasn't Roger Dean, and this one is a return to that. Really good. So also, then you have, after the Sweet, you then have Man, You Always Wanted Me to Be. Now on the remake version, Chris Squire, I believe, sings that. But on this version, it's Benoit David. Another pretty solid track on here. Starts to go a bit downhill from here. Life on the Film Set, Hour of Need, which Steve Howe did the cover, did the vocals on, which I don't really get. But anyway, Steve Howe did the vocal set for that on the updated version of it. But on this version, again, Benoit David. Solitaire and Into the Storm, all okay. None of these songs are bad. I like the album. I like the instrumentation on it is good. Of course, Chris Squire's on this, so that makes it a strong album for me. I know he did the next one as well, and it was not a good album. But overall, I enjoy this album quite a bit. It was on my playlist, along with the new one, Mirror to the Sky. I had them both on the playlist, one right after another, actually. And it got to a point where I've been listening to this for a bit longer than Mirror to the Sky, so I decided that one of them was going to go down, so I took this one off. So it was on there maybe, I want to say about 4 months, which is a fair lengthy time. Not a great amount of time, but a fair lengthy. And I really enjoyed listening to this. So I do take this with me sometimes in the car. So it's one of the later Yes albums in the last decade or so that I do listen to fairly regularly. It's probably my go-to right now, although that Mirror to the Sky is definitely another one that I'm considering playing quite a bit, and it's growing on me quite a bit all the time. I didn't care for it too much at the beginning, but it's slowly taken off. But this album, really good. I'd be interested in hearing the 2018 version, which has the other vocal parts put on there. It'd be interesting to hear that, but if I see it, I will definitely consider getting it. But overall, this is a good album. Definitely worth giving it a listen to. My problem in the past, and I've had this problem for most of my young years anyways, is I would give, somebody gave me an album from a new group, I would give them 5 minutes of my time. Sometimes not even that. And then make a decision that I would not like that band and never listen to them again. The arrogance of youth, But anyways, now I try to give, especially bands that I know I've liked in the past, I will give the album multiple tries, sometimes months of listening to before I know that eventually something will happen. There's usually a point where it turns over too, where I turn over and all of a sudden I'm really liking it. So with me, what I've discovered with music is that the albums that have the most meaning and the most love for me usually are ones that take a bit of time to get into. The ones I like initially, I love them right off the bat. They don't tend to have that ability to stand the test of time, which I've said before. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video of recent history album review. This will be the first one I've done in a year, so I'm hoping that there might be some more stuff out there that I can do this on too. So this will come out immediately after this is done. I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. Any comments about this album, you can put them in the comment section below. And we will see you again, and have yourself a good day. Take care, and goodbye.